Welcome to Restaurant Catering Smarts, your go-to podcast for restaurateurs looking to better operate and grow their catering profit centers. With every episode, you can count on expert advice, innovative strategies, and tasty tips straight from industry leaders. Our purpose is to help your business thrive. So, let's dig in to another juicy episode.
I am Michael Attias, your host of Restaurant Catering Smarts, and today's guest is Ellen Diehl, Operations Coordinator, but dubbed Catering Queen by her office at Roots Natural Kitchen. We're going to have to ask you about that one. Ellen plays a pivotal role in supporting and scaling off-premise initiatives for one of the fastest-growing, health-focused, fast-casual brands in the country. With a strong background in operations and a passion for creating efficient, guest-friendly systems, she's helped Roots deliver consistent, high-quality catering experiences that reflect the brand's values. From process optimization to team coordination, Ellen's insights offer a fresh perspective on how operational excellence can fuel catering success, and we're excited to have her on the show today. Before we get started, let's take a minute to recognize our sponsor, CaterZen Catering Software. They help restaurants turn their catering chaos into calm. Discover why restaurants trust CaterZen to save them time and increase sales. Go to CaterZen.com and sign up for a walkthrough of the software. Now let's dive into this episode of Restaurant Catering Smarts. Welcome, Ellen. How are you doing?
Wonderful. Thank you for having me.
No, thanks for being on here. You've been a longtime client. We can talk about more than just Lululemon, as we were talking in pre-production. But I like to get everyone started with an icebreaker, just sort of warm things up a little bit. Give me a number between 1 and 300.
Let's go with 125.
125. What's your favorite pair of leggings? No. What's your favorite way to spend a Friday night?
My favorite way to spend a Friday night. Well, I am a tired mom these days. I have a 2-year-old. So I think my ideal Friday night is just curling up with a cup of tea and a good book and just having some quiet and doing some reading. Maybe a little if I don't have like the mental capacity to do that, I might knit and like watch some TV.
Are you watching anything binge-worthy?
I just finished watching you. The show.
You finished watching me. We barely know each other.
No.
You mean the show?
The show you.
Oh, the show you.
Sorry.
I thought watching you was the name of the show. I think I've heard of that. Someone turned me on to Friends and Neighbors on Apple.
Yeah.
Do you know about that show?
Yeah. Yes. I have started that one.
It's pretty good. I haven't done a lot of binge watching. Like I need a good, 10-day flu to get through some backlog.
Yeah.
I think it depends on the time of year. Winter, you're definitely more TV centric. When it's nice outside, you're more outside.
Right. For sure. For sure. Yeah. There's like some shows, like I watched The Last of Us. I've been really into that show. So yeah. Just.
Okay, so now let's get into serious conversation, I guess. You've been with Roots Natural Kitchen since 2020. You started as a general manager.
Yes.
And now you serve as operations coordinator with a focus on catering. Can you tell me your journey in the restaurant business? Everybody's got a really unique story of how they got in the restaurant business.
Yes. Well, when it comes to the restaurant business, I mean, my first job was in a restaurant. Like when I was 17. So that led me to the food industry in general. And I worked.
Where was the 17-year-old? Where'd you work? I mean, this is where you skipped over this. So it's going to be something like McDonald's, Taco Bell, Sonic.
It was Long John Silver's.
I do not see you as a fish and hush puppies kind of girl.
I'll tell you what, when we were 17, it was the cool place to work. I don't know why, but all the cool kids were working there, and I ended up there because my cousin worked there, and we had a lot of fun. And I was then the drive-through queen because I was really good at getting people through the drive-through quickly.
You do need to get out of Kansas, Ellen. My first job was as a dishwasher. I couldn't even get a job, and I did such a bad job on pots and pans, they made me a busboy.
Oh my. Yeah.
Okay,
So,
so you start off at Long John Silver's.
mhm.
I definitely would have hit you up for hush puppies. I love hush puppies.
To
There's
this
something
day,
about
I don't think I've ever had one.
you've never had a hush puppy?
No,
Do you
no,
know the origination of the term hush puppy?
I do not.
So back during the plantation days,
Mhm.
they would have the women cooking, in the kitchen. The kitchens were remote.
Mhm.
And what they would do is they take some cornbread batter and deep fry it and throw it to the dogs and say hush puppy.
Oh,
And thus the term
that's how it
hush
came to
puppies.
be.
That's what I've
Interesting.
heard, and it sounds good. So if I'm wrong, I
Right.
really don't want an email telling me the real origination. I'm going with that one. Okay, so you start off as the drive-through queen.
Mhm.
I'm picking up perfectionist vibes. Like you were probably the overachiever, the perfectionist. Everything had to be right. Your side work was always the best. You always
Mhm.
upsold the best. Pat on the shoulder.
Yeah.
You needed that acknowledgement. I'm just picking up these vibes. I don't know why.
No, they're accurate vibes. I was a bit of a perfectionist. And I was always raised to take pride in like everything that you do. And so I took a lot of pride in that job. And I think no matter what kind of job you're doing, I think it's really important to, to take pride in it and do your best.
I pride myself in being mediocre. I went to school saying, why put in 6 hours for the A when you can put in an hour and get the B because I'm more efficient.
Uh,
But it seems today there's not that, and we're sort of, I've got questions that have been pre-written probably by AI. I don't know. They were just provided to me, but it seems like today there's not that sense of pride. I'm going to go get a job and I'm going to do a good job. It's almost more entitlement. And I'm not saying there aren't kids that have that and young adults that have that. Where do you think we went wrong in that, and how do you think we get that back?
I, yeah, that's a good question. I, I honestly feel like we've just become like I think as technology has advanced, which has so many benefits, I feel like just people have developed a lot more convenience. From my perspective, I feel like people are just getting more and more used to convenience that like they're just kind of looking to like meet an end and not I don't know. I
Do
don't
you
know.
think do you think it
This
could
is
be the technology being the step parent
yeah,
more?
yeah. I definitely think like whenever I think about my childhood and how I grew up, like we were with people all the time and we didn't have like social media or, we didn't have like all of the different streaming platforms either. I just feel like there's so much out there now that maybe people have kind of like lost their focus at times and just, I don't know. It
I
does seem like there's been some kind of shift, and I can't really put my finger on
you know,
exactly what.
I'm going to say that it's when I was growing up, like we got drug on Sunday to some old person's house that had vinyl on their couch.
Uh-huh.
And, we had to sit there and be polite and eat, whatever they served us. And then when we were kids, it's like my mom threw our asses out at 6 a.m. and like, if you're thirsty, drink from the garden hose. And
Yes.
we learned how to like, we were pioneers, like how to build forts and how to go
Mhm.
fishing. And I remember as a kid, I was friends with the Oreo cookie delivery man at Kroger, and he'd give me the broken cookie boxes, the ones that had broken cookies.
Yeah.
And he wasn't a creep or anything, so I don't have any crazy stories to tell. But I mean, you went out there and you created things and built your
Mhm.
own toys and games, and like there was this sense of doing it. Now, like I see people and even one of my friends, it's like the tablet is the pacifier. There's no talking at the table at the end of the
Mhm.
day. How was your day? What did you learn?
Yeah.
You had a fight with your friend. Well, have you thought about this? It's just sort of like, here, take the tablet and shut up. And
Yeah.
it's really, I mean, it's a shame. And even with adults, I'm sure you've seen this in restaurants where there's a couple and they're out for a nice dinner. It's not like Long John Silver's. We're just eating and running.
Yeah.
And they're both on their phones,
Yeah.
not communicating with each other. It's
It
crazy.
Yeah, it always is kind of like startling to me because I really value connection, and I feel like if we're just like looking at a phone or playing on a tablet, when we have people to connect with right in front of us, um yeah, I don't think it's particularly healthy, and I think it does start to shift people's priorities and their intuition and their inspiration at times. Not that I don't think that, like, you know, there's a lot of creativity that can be had within the technology world as well.
Oh, there's definitely a lot of things, with
Yeah.
like, what used to take thousands of dollars in video editing equipment, I create great social media videos, just,
Mhm.
for Instagram or whatever for fun in two
Mhm.
seconds, right? I have a
Right.
drone, the stuff that you can create. So from a creativity suite of tools, it's great, but also from the dumbing down and, numbing, it's bad. But, I guess every generation has something, and who knows what's going to happen with AI. And I don't know, maybe we'll just implode and we'll have to learn how to like raise chickens and farm, and I
Yeah.
don't know, maybe.
Yeah. Who knows?
It's crazy. Okay, so Long John Silver's, how'd you end up at Roots? How'd you end up the catering queen? How'd you
Yeah.
get dubbed that?
All right. That's quite a story. So basically, I worked in seafood restaurants, don't eat seafood. And then
Well, wait, you don't eat seafood.
I don't really eat seafood. I have warmed up to salmon, but outside of that, I'm not a big seafood eater. So I never like consume the product
I mean,
that
you've
like we're,
just had bad seafood. If Long John Silver's was your introduction,
I never had it.
well, it's probably the smell that turned you off. But there's some really good ceviche and all sorts of. But anyway, I'm not here to, but make you a pescatarian. Keep going.
And then I moved into cafe management. So I managed a cafe, which was like a lot of fun. And then I moved into another cafe, and it wasn't really the best fit for me. And I was quite miserable there. I think that the store itself was like a lot of fun and the people were great, but I think who you have as like your superiors, like your district manager, area manager, what have you, they have a huge impact on like what kind of experience that you have. And it was interesting because I had been at the previous jobs for like an extended period of time. Because I'd worked in three different jobs and I was there for like, 5+ years at all of them. And I always felt like very seen and heard, and like the people were really like warm and empathetic and all that. And then in that particular location, I didn't really feel seen or heard at all. And so it was kind of just like a bad experience. I was experiencing a lot of like debilitating anxiety trying to go to work. So I really needed to shift, and then the infamous year of 2020 happened. So good old COVID era. So I was really I left that job, and then I was really looking for where I wanted to go next, and really wanted to be very mindful about where I went. And Roots Natural Kitchen, I ended up applying, and they chose me, and the people were really, really great. They were definitely like, I need to have a sense of that the people that I'm working with are good and just have like empathy, and that they see everybody as people. And that is something that is very true when it comes to Roots. And yeah, so I started with them in July of 2020, really got to experience how great they were, because I actually went through kind of a little bit of a hardship, not a little bit of a hardship, but like a month into the job, my mother had surgery and it did not go well, and she ended up like passing away. And
Oh
I
my
had
God.
like, yeah, and like
I'm so
I,
sorry.
well, thank you, but I was really like nervous because of my previous experience with my other employer. I was really nervous about like telling them, hey, I might need some time, like I gotta go through this. I was very anxious, like, um,
I mean, did you think they were going to fire you or?
yes, well, I didn't know. I didn't have like that impression of them.
Right.
to do that kind of thing, but just like I think there was just like this this lingering anxiety from my previous job. So I was very nervous, and I hadn't met a lot of these people because of it being COVID. Like it was all just like we were, emailing or messaging each other from like the home for when it came to the people at the home office. And people that I had never met were just like reaching out and like sending their condolences and just checking in on me. And they really showed me like how much they like really value people in general. And I felt like so supported, and like, I don't know, it gave me such a warm feeling that after that I was like, Roots Natural Kitchen, I will die for you. You guys are so kind, so good. But yeah, so I was general manager for our state college location for a couple years, and then I had my son in February of 2023, and kind of it really worked out well for me because what happened was I think I wasn't quite aware of it, but I had been in a place where after my mom had passed away, I was kind of in the mindset of like, I don't know if like being a general manager is what I want to do anymore because it does require so many hours like in the restaurant. And I was
And
missing
not,
out on so much
yeah,
time with family. And I felt like a lot of guilt with my mother
yeah.
with that. So I don't think I was like fully consciously aware of that. But whenever I had my son, I was like, very nervous about going back into the restaurant and being away from him and trying to balance all that. And it really worked out that they needed this operations coordinator position to be created. And they kind of just like fast tracked it and thought that I would be a good fit. Our head of operations, Haley, I'd worked with her, like she had been my area manager for a time, and we worked really well together, and she thought I would be a good fit for it. And I was able to work remote and be close to my son. So following
So,
maternity leave,
so what was an operations coordinator?
the operations coordinator, so it's basically just kind of handling the back end things, like basically being the second person, the second go-to person for like things like dealing with the different platforms that we use. But they didn't, whenever they pitched the job to me, they're like, we don't have a full description. You're going to be doing a little bit of catering. You're going to be doing a little bit of like menus and like, just kind of like, it's going
So
to
you're a
be
jack of all trades,
basically, yeah, yeah. I
a lot of
basically tell
projects.
me what to do. I'll do my best to get it done, like kind of thing. And so, yeah, so they didn't even have like a full description whenever they were like, "Would you want to do this?" And I was like, "Yes, please." Yeah, so I started that in it would have been May of 2023 following my maternity leave.
So how did you become the catering queen?
Mhm. So they basically wanted somebody to focus on catering. They had previous individuals in that role that kind of oversaw it, but didn't like work out as well at that time. And so they just wanted to kind of have somebody who could just handle that all the things catering for all of our store locations.
So is that sales? Is that operations?
More so, it started with more so just operations, just kind of
Okay.
fine tuning. Like catering was doing okay, but we wanted to just kind of have more focus on it and see like where are the opportunities to improve and all that good stuff. Like, so basically what I did is I like to go in and just like create systems myself. So, and just get everything nice and organized. I kind of looked to see because I was overseeing
So
all the stores.
I'm picking up label gun vibes.
Oh, I do have a label gun. I do have one, yes. And I love it.
You know, I should have been a mentalist in Vegas. Uh, did you have a place you learned systems from?
Basically, Haley was my mentor, so she really taught me everything that I know when it comes to like roots. But like in general, I
I mean, have you just always been a systems person, or did you learn it someplace? Or is it, I'm going to project myself on you, chaos causes anxiety. So by
Yeah.
having everything taken care of in a plan B, you don't have to worry about the shit hitting the fan
Yeah.
because you have a backup fan.
Yeah. Yeah. So I basically like, I just like to create little systems of like plan A, plan B, plan C. And what can we do to make sure that all the T's are crossed, the I's are dotted, and just to try to run as smoothly as possible, and what to do when things don't run smoothly as possible. I like to have like a plan for that. And I think working in the restaurant industry, you are just like surrounded by chaos, and you have to find your calm, your organization within all of that. Having a system helps me be able to manage all that.
Well, it's funny you talk about chaos and calm. Originally our company was Restaurant Catering Systems.
Mhm.
And I thought, okay, that makes sense. Catering systems for restaurants. And
Yeah.
people were like, are you a restaurant supply company? Are you this or that? And then people in the catering business would be like, oh, but your software is not for us. So we tried to come up with a generic name. And, you look at Microsoft and how software companies throw two names together.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh, CaterZen. That just sounds like a good name and peaceful, whatever. And then one day it just sort of hit me. We turned catering chaos into calm, and it fit with the Zen. It
Mhm.
all happened. But have you ever heard of Michael? Have you ever read The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber?
I have not.
You probably do a lot of it, but that's where I first learned systems when I got my first restaurant.
Mhm.
There really weren't systems, and I just hate things being, what is it I say? I prefer processes over personalities
Mm.
because it's the different because it's profits as opposed to problems.
Mhm.
Personalities cause problems,
Yeah.
processes as profits, right? And I made that one up. No one gets credit for that one. And it's really true because you can have a superstar that does a good job, right? You work at Long John Silver's and you're the drive-through queen. And then what happens when you go off to college? Well, now you're just relying somebody else to just through serendipity be just as conscientious and care just
Mhm.
as much, where the process is, I'd rather have people operate at an 8 out of 10, but everyone's doing the same thing. So he
Mhm.
talks about whether you want to be like McDonald's and have a gazillion units, or you just want one restaurant or one barbershop or whatever, set up all these systems. So I've always been about systems. I think people think CaterZen is bigger than they are because we have really, really good systems in place.
Yeah.
And so I'm all about, systems. And I think a lot of people, when you tell me you're working 90 hours a week, that tells me you don't really have good systems and
Yes.
you're like in a pinball machine and you're
Mhm.
just going off the bumpers. And it's like, I don't have the bandwidth for that. I don't have
Yes.
the stomach for it. I don't want to be on Xanax. Nothing against people who have to take medicine for anxiety. Like, I want as just peaceful as possible. If you don't bring peace in my life, you got to go.
Yeah. Yeah. And like some people will do that like almost as a brag. Like I work 80 hours a week. I was like, that's not good. That's not healthy.
Shh, don't tell anyone I work 4 hours a week.
Oh my God.
I mean, I'm sorry, 4 hours a day, maybe 4 hours a day.
Oh, yeah.
Um, because it's like you really should get rewarded on the output. Like I understand people have to wait tables, so you have to go in and you have to wait tables. But when you get to higher level, it's really what can I get done through other people's and other systems that are replicable, not just, oh my God, I worked 100 hours last week and oh my God, look at me. It's like, yeah, look at you. I don't want your life
No,
at
not at
all.
all. I do not envy people who work
I
excessive
like
hours.
people who are lazy like I am. I mean, those are my people. So, do you focus on the catering sales or at Roots? How do y'all go about selling, marketing, catering? I mean, I don't know your exact volume. Obviously, as your software provider, I could look that up, but I know y'all do a lot of volume.
Mhm.
What's your sales and marketing plan as far as building?
So we have marketing folks who also will like go out. We have two individuals who are wonderful, and they are very good at like marketing and kind of finding out like who should we reach out to for catering. But we do have the fortune of like with us being a grain and salad bowl restaurant and being very allergen friendly, we do just have like a good amount of people who just come to us because it's very convenient. Like we do a lot of work with sales reps for medical offices and the universities put our locations in close proximity to universities. So we do a lot of catering for universities. So a lot of it does just kind of come in because we are like, somebody orders our food and they don't have to be like, okay, tell me every like ingredient. Like we have very whole ingredients and we don't like have a lot of gluten or dairy. So people don't have to worry about like, oh my, because
Right. And when you're dealing in healthcare, obviously you've got health conscious people. And then in academia, you have a lot of diverse cultures that, they don't eat certain foods and what have you. It's really interesting. I just got back from Europe and, I love food. I mean, I'm a before model for weight loss infomercials. I've got to keep 20 pounds on. Everybody knows I'm a major foodie. And like I was eating like some good stuff, croissants. I mean, like with almond cream every day in Amsterdam around the corner. There was this bakery, and I would get this almond croissant. I mean, it was and a cappuccino. And normally I drink black coffee every single day. And I went to Michelin star restaurants and I eat pasta and bread. And after 3 weeks, guess how much weight I gained when I came home?
I'm gonna guess nothing.
0.
Yeah, because of
And within a
different.
week, I was 6 pounds down because all the, when you travel, you bloat up from just being in an airplane and
Right.
whatever. So I probably lost weight. I think the
Yeah.
busiest day is I walked 23,000 miles, but the food supply is clean and healthy.
Yep.
And here, like,
So
I
much
just go out
better.
to a regular restaurant and you thinking you're having chicken with lettuce and you just feel even that you
Yeah.
think is healthy, the salt and the preservatives and stuff. It's and again, I'm not a health food nut by any stretch of the imagination, right? I like Taco Bell at well, it used to be 3 a.m. Now it's got to be before 10 because I'm going to go to bed. But I can eat some good crap food,
Yeah.
but it's like it's just amazing. We have such a bad from the wheat that the wheat source that we use or flour source. It's like Europe has it figured out. They don't put up with shit
Yeah.
in their food supply.
No, they really don't. And I do find it interesting because I know so many people who like they don't eat gluten here in the States, but whenever they go over to Europe and they try pasta, like they have no problem. And I'm like,
Uh,
it's our food. Like we have a problem.
yeah, I think I'm not a conspiracy theorist, maybe a light one. It's like, are we just trying to like neuter the population through our food supply? Like how, not dumb down, but like,
Yeah.
could we just make people just sloths, just,
Yeah.
no exercise. And, and also in Europe, even if you are the laziest person in the world, you're walking 2 miles a day. Because by the time you leave your apartment, you go to the bus or the metro, then you walk a couple blocks to work, you've put in 2 miles by the time you go to work and back, right?
Right.
And so, I mean, if everybody in America got up off their butt and walked 2 miles a day, and you ate a better food supply, and then, the portions, right? You go to Cheesecake Factory, you could feed a family of 4 off one plate. In Europe, they're just regular portions.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And they
It's so
they
different.
also take the time to enjoy the meal. There's not this hurriedness like, oh, where's my food? Where's this? Like, if you're in a hurry, don't go out to eat in Europe. Like, you're waiting 30 minutes for a check. So it allows you to not rush. By the time everything's coursed out, you don't need as much to get full. You're not, you haven't just woofed everything down. It's just a whole better way of living,
I
which is
believe it.
crazy.
And you spent
Anyway,
3 weeks there?
I went to Amsterdam because I've always wanted to ride a bicycle in the tulip fields.
Okay.
I went to Marrakesh because my parents are from Morocco and I've never been, and I didn't want to spend 2 weeks. I had a place for 2 weeks in Amsterdam and I cut out. And I went hot air ballooning in the desert, which is, have you ever been on a hot air balloon?
I have not yet.
I hate heights, and I had the best time of my life.
Nice.
It is like, I'm not gonna say it's life changing, but life enhancing. It was really cool. I would do it again. And then I went to Paris for a week. I was born in Paris, and
Okay.
so I just hung out in Paris for a week and took my dad and his girlfriend out to a Michelin star restaurant. My dad has never been to one, and so that was a nice experience. And then I've got this hobby. I'm now collecting. I just built a new kitchen. I've got display cabinets,
Mm-hmm.
with glass on the top cabinets I put in. And every time I go to a Michelin star restaurant, I'm trying to get something from the restaurant that the chef will sign that I can put on
Hmm.
display.
Okay. Nice.
So, I didn't think teapots or thimbles was my thing.
Yeah.
People collect a lot of weird things. I
Yeah.
think for a foodie to have something from a Michelin star restaurant is pretty cool. Okay. So when and I don't know, do you study what other restaurants are doing? What mistakes have you seen other restaurants make in the catering space, either getting into it, running it?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely like observe what other restaurants are doing and just seeing if we are doing if we should be doing something similar or if we're definitely doing something better type of thing. But um I don't feel like I study the other restaurants as much. Maybe take some inspiration from them here and there whenever I see it. But I like to study what our restaurants are doing and what is or isn't working. And I am aware of like all of the caterings that go out for all of our stores, which we have, I think, 13 now. So looking to see if there are any like trends of, where we need to improve and like holding the stores accountable, making sure they're aware of like if something was late or anything like that. And the one thing I do think is like for us has been a huge benefit is we do not contract out to like DoorDash for delivery or anything like that. We use our own like in-house contracted drivers, which is a huge selling point for our customers because they love that they can like our in-house contracted drivers, they know our food, they know how to set everything up.
Right.
They're often like in-store employees as well, so they can answer any questions that the customer might have. And they're just like more reliable. So our customers really love that like they know it's going to be like one of these, several drivers that are going to be dropping it off and they know what they're doing and that we can like easily make sure to contact them and all that good stuff.
Yeah, we're gonna have to edit this out because CaterZen's about to launch a third-party integration. No, I'm just joking. No, there is a place for a third-party integration for overflow, and you don't want to turn
Yeah.
away business. Or there's just some people that they're not in a position to have that. But I will totally agree with you. When you can have your own team, it's always better because they understand your brand standards, the
Mhm.
culture, what's expected. They know how to problem solve. They're not just like, oh, it's just food, here it is,
Yeah.
and I think that does make, a huge difference. We were lucky that we had a sort of a hybrid. So when I opened my restaurant, this guy came in and he goes, "Hey, I own a courier service. I do a lot of legal, document running, whatever.
Hmm.
Um, would you consider using us for deliveries?" And in Memphis, when I worked at the Court Keys in Memphis, they use a third party courier service.
Okay.
And so the guy was great because he was a one man band. He didn't have some big operations with dispatch. He
Hmm.
was he had a Miata and a cell phone. Sometimes he'd run the orders, and he would hire. He was probably the gig economy before the gig economy. He would hire like musicians. Nashville's big in musicians. So if they're not touring, right, or doing session work, they want to make some extra money, right? So they
Hmm.
come in and run a couple of orders. We'd give them unlimited Cokes. If they brought the check back, we'd give them a free sandwich. Stay at home moms, retirees. So he had this whole, he was sort of like Uber Eats or DoorDash before there was. And it was just
Right.
all this hodgepodge gang of people. And, you know, they really took pride in what they did. You know, they felt part of the Corky's family because we didn't treat them like, you know, hey, you're just somebody, you know, this underling that's doing this job for us. It's like we were friends with all the drivers. We gave them food. You know, they come to us and go, hey, I'm having a family reunion this weekend. I'd give them half
Mhm.
price because you want people. Somebody taught me this a long time ago, servant leadership, right?
Mhm.
Your job as a leader is to serve the people who serve the people, right? And
Mhm.
obviously serve the customer. Because if you, to your point, like, because Roots took care of you when your mom went through the health issue and then died, you can't put a price tag on that in loyalty, you know. And if somebody came to you and said, hey, I'm going to pay you an extra 10% or 15%, you probably wouldn't leave because you're like, I'm not going to risk what I built here in the culture and who I work with for a few extra bucks. Now, if somebody said, look, I've got this great opportunity and I want to pay you double, you might take a serious look at that.
Mhm.
But, you know, you're not losing people over a few bucks if you treat them well and you're there when they need you. I
Right.
mean, and that's how I've always tried to run things. It's like, I really don't care if you've got to leave at 2 in the afternoon and take your dog here, get an oil change. As long as I don't have a customer calling me that you've dropped the ball, and there's nothing, we're not serving food, right? So
Mhm.
if a project gets taken care of today or tomorrow, if somebody gets training at 4 in the afternoon or 8 the next morning, it's not earth shattering in most
Right.
people's lives. So I think people appreciate that flexibility.
Mhm.
And I do, because I don't want an office, because when you have people, you have problems. And, you know, oh, Susie left her stinky cheese in the fridge. Michael doesn't clean out the coffee maker. It's like, just fold your laundry on a call, leave me alone. I don't care. Just do a good job. Um, um, so if you look at, okay, so going back to what you said before, we didn't go deeper. What have been some of the things that you've recognized where you need to improve, and how do you track that? You know, are you talking to the customers? Are you just, you have a way of monitoring complaints? What are you seeing?
Uh, So anytime that somebody does have a complaint, they're typically going to get me on the phone because our catering has really been booming over the last 2 years. I now have like a second person who's helping me, which is great. And so you're going to get myself or her, and then we track every issue that does come up, and then if any issues, we like track any issues that might have been noted in Easy Cater or anything like that as well. And then the stores also are to communicate with us if anything is going to be, if it's running a couple minutes late, say the driver has a flat tire or anything like that, or, you know, what have you, they'll let us know about that. Or they usually try to let us know about that before anything happens or after. So most of our orders do run pretty smoothly, but for every now and then you do have some hiccups. And
I mean, bro, I mean, it's impossible to
yes,
have 100% success rate.
exactly. Yeah. And like if like maybe the quality was off or anything like that, we want to know about that. So, and I think a lot of our customers do feel comfortable reaching out if there was like an issue or if something was maybe missing. And then the restaurants themselves are very good at communicating and taking accountability for anything that might have gone wrong. And then we track all of that and like give reports back to the stores about these are some opportunities and things like that. So I think that's one of the biggest things that changed whenever I came into role is that I started seeing like, oh, this particular restaurant is struggling with getting food out on time.
That's a good, yeah. So obviously you're a client, and I don't know what people use and don't use. Again, I don't get involved in day to day, but we came out with the new notes feature. Are
Mhm.
you documenting all that with the new notes feature?
Yeah, we do use the notes for like any little bit, like, oh, this customer wants you to do this or that whenever you arrive, or this customer has had some issues in the past, anything like that, which is helpful. It's super
Are you
helpful.
pulling the reports? Because you can have a headline for a note like customer issue, and then you could pull a report for the quarter, any note that has customer issue as a headline, and you can
Yeah.
say, hey, for the quarter, what were our issues? Have you done that?
We haven't done that. We kind of have like our own separate like tracker of different things just because there are like different platforms that we have to go through. Like with Easy Cater and like we have like America to Go and stuff like that. But and then there are like some issues that like we usually give a refund, a partial refund if something is late. But if it's like just something small and they're like, oh, it's not a big deal. I just wanted to let you know. We still like note that kind of information.
Do you
But
use
yeah.
the highlighted notes?
Not in our highlighted notes. Highlighted notes are like usually more so for just random like tidbits of information that we should know about that customer. Particularly if they kind of have specifications as to like how they want the food delivered, but they don't necessarily put that in the order whenever they place it. Things like that.
Who takes the orders? Do you have a phone center? Do you
So they can enter it obviously manually or enter that
online?
themselves on our website, and then Easy Cater orders we input manually, and same with America to Go orders and the different like third party catering platforms that we use. And then we try to just meet people where they're at. So we also have people who are able that they can just like email us or give us a
But does
call.
anyone answer the phone and take orders?
Yeah, I take calls. I take calls every day and take
So are
orders.
you primarily the main phone order person? They'll
Yes.
call you to take orders?
Yes, me or my colleague now, Victoria. Yes.
I got you. Okay,
Yeah.
that's cool. Yeah, we're well, two things. We're integrating with Easy Cater.
Hmm.
They've chosen us. So hopefully
Excited for that.
sooner than later, we'll have that done. We did, I don't know if you use the Easy Cater manual interface we built. Do you use that?
I don't think so.
So we had a client that says the invoices don't match in CaterZen from what the checks are.
Yeah.
So every field on an Easy Cater order can be manually entered into the order, even if the sales tax is a penny off. So when you get your check, you can reconcile it in 2 seconds.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I know there's so many things people don't know. I don't even know half the shit that my software does. I really don't. I have to ask. We've built so much good stuff.
Yeah.
The other thing is, you've worked with Jillian, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Do you know Jill, our new COO?
I don't think so.
You need to meet her. The two of them are like super nice and super engaging. I'm sort of an ass, so people stay away from me. But Jillian is like your best friend. Like, she knows everything about people. And that's where I think the highlighted notes really can give you an unfair advantage. Because if you've got a client and you know that they like to fly fish, right? You don't give a crap about fly fishing. You don't fly fish, right? You like to hike. I've done my research. So if I knew you like to hike, I go, hey, do you have a good, what's the weather going to be like this weekend? Oh, it's going to be sunny. You going hiking? Oh, yeah, I'm going up here. Well, what's it like? So now you're buying from a friend
Yeah.
as opposed to transactional, right? We want to do business with people we know, like, and trust. Price doesn't become an issue because every time I call Ellen, she asks, how's the beach or how's mediocre life or whatever it is. So I think that's a good tool, is to sort of get to know people and put that in the highlighted notes.
Yeah.
Because we live in such a depersonalized society. Yes, we have this persona on social media, the mask we want to show people. But when you're talking to someone on the phone, they let that down a little bit, or they tell you something about their life and they're not trying to show off, right? I'm ordering food. Like, it's what might be considered maybe not a big piece of information, but something important to them that you can, tap into.
Yeah. Which I've had like the benefit of, because I had been the one primarily taking all of the calls, I got to know the customers pretty well. So I'm like, oh, Jill. Well, I guess maybe not Jill, but
It's okay.
In my head. But like, how have you been? Type of thing. And for me, it's actually interesting because I have my son at home with me typically. Like I have help between, 5 hours, but before he goes down for his nap. But because he's like kind of in the background making noise a lot of the time and just, being a
Yeah.
2-year-old, that's also like for me a really nice like connecting point with customers because they're like, oh, you have a kid, like how old is he? And it's always kind of fun. And then I get to like, brag about how brag about how like I'm grateful for being able to hang out at home and be able to still see him while working.
I think it is a big benefit to be able to do that.
Yeah.
I don't use the word blessing a lot, but I'll use the word blessing,
Yeah.
because, you really have this small window of opportunity to shape a little person.
Mm-hmm.
I guess they say by the time they're 3, they're sort of figure it out. And
Yeah.
if you can do that and do your job, and I think today, especially the COVID trained us with Zoom calls, your dog barks in the background, your cat, like we're all people,
Mm-hmm.
as long as you're not getting up showing you're in your underwear on a Zoom call, it's like anything goes. And,
Yeah.
hey, can you wait? Someone's at the doorbell. It's a UPS guy. I mean, people get that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, it's human. So that's very cool. Okay. So last question. Where do you see the future of AI intersecting with the catering industry?
My. Oh, I don't know.
Are
AI.
you a conspiracy theorist?
I get a little nervous about AI. So probably a little bit.
So, do you have a prediction?
I think AI can be used for really great things and can be a very useful tool. We have been able to use like Chat GPT to like when we get individual bowl orders on EasyCater, we're starting to learn how to like get that inputted so that we can just like make an Excel so we can make labels from it, which is cool. But yeah, I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure. I'm just I get nervous about AI and how it's going to be used as long as it's used for good and useful things.
Well, that sounds like the Star Wars trilogy, but I will give you my high level. I think short term, it's going to be a phenomenal tool, right? Like we use ChatGPT all the time,
Mm-hmm.
where it's headed and how fast it's advancing. I think if you see what's going on in the world of robots, 10, 15, 20 years from now, our kitchen's going to be manned by robots. They show up on time. They don't complain. You know, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I do think it might not be a bad idea to own a big plot of land that you can raise your own food on
Mm-hmm.
and wake up with a purpose. Because if we go to an economy where we have what are they called? Not guaranteed income, universal basic income, right? I think AI is going to be taxed because it's like, okay, this AI has put this many people out of work, so we're going to have to tax it like a payroll tax.
Yeah.
And then people are going to get a check to stay at home because there's probably not going to be enough jobs
Mm-hmm.
to make up. Yes, it's going to make a lot of difference, but there's a lot of jobs that will never be replaced. So we don't want people burning down. And so what happens when people don't have a purpose, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not like if all of a sudden I gave you a big check every day, maybe you'd find a purpose. You have a kid, but are most people going to say, well, I'm going to paint and draw, raise chickens, whatever. So I think you're going to need to maybe find a reason to wake up in the morning aside from money, something that
Yes.
gives you life and purpose, whether it's art, creating,
Mm-hmm.
raising chickens. I'm into kayaking, hiking. I need to do something with my life to
Right.
feel I have a purpose, because otherwise it's just debauchery and downfall.
Yeah. Don't want that.
So that's sort of I think people don't like what I have to say and probably get scared, but that's
I
it.
mean the idea of being able to have like a plot of land and just kind of do your own thing. Because I feel like for me, I'm never short of having a list of things that I'd like to create and grow and all that jazz, but don't feel like I have the time for it.
Well, I mean, you do have a job and a child, so
You
you
have
have an
those
excuse.
Yeah. One day.
Maybe when he goes off to school, you won't have the excuse. Okay. Well, I appreciate you being here today. Not only informative, but a lot of fun.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Restaurant Catering Smarts. For more insights and episodes, make sure to follow along, subscribe, and share at CaterZen.com.